possible. Limited time offer. Free phone on new activations only. Requires tier commitment to eligible plans plus activation of AT&T Enhanced Switch to talk service.
Here's the official News Talk 1090 WKBZ forecast for today. Lots of sunshine with a high of 65. Southwest winds 5 to 10. Tonight, partly cloudy, a low of 46. Northeast winds 5 to 10. It'll be overcast tomorrow with showers at times at a high of 68. Southeast winds 10 to 20. And showers are possible as well on Tuesday. Maybe a rumble of thunder with a high of 73. For Wednesday, isolated thunderstorms at a high around 75. Keeping you informed, News Talk 1090 WKBZ, the talk of Muskegon.
Be a survivor, not a statistic. Renegade River in Spring Lake has new and used handguns, hunting guns, sporting goods, and survival gear. Protect your rights and your freedom. Ask about their CPL classes. Renegade River, next to the police station in downtown Spring Lake. Renegade River in Spring Lake wants to buy your used handguns and hunting guns. Renegade River, your hunting, camping, and survival store. Stop in and check out their new and used firearms, sporting goods, Army and Navy supplies, and survival gear. Downtown Spring Lake, next to the police station.
News Talk 1090 is the talk of Muskegon.
Welcome. You're listening to the Renegade River Show, and my name is Mike Hewitt. Today, I love that song. Today, before we get going, I want to take a moment just to not only thank those who have served so that people like me can stand on a free soapbox and talk, so that my daughters and my granddaughters and my family are safe. I want to thank those who have served in our armed forces, but I also want to thank their families and their children and their parents and their sisters and brothers for the sacrifices that their family makes. So on this Memorial Day and every day, thank you very much to those who have served in your families. Today, my guest is Melanie Curtis, and Melanie and I are going to talk about Common Core, of which she's an expert and I'm not all that familiar. Melanie, welcome to the Renegade River Show.
Thank you very much, Mike, and my best wishes to all our veterans as well.
Melanie, on Common Core, I went looking for, because I keep hearing about it, and I went looking for somebody that knew a lot about it, and I kept getting referred to you over and over. I'm told that you are probably our state's expert on it, so I really appreciate you coming on to tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I've been working on the issue for about 9 months and participating in debates, so I've had my fair share of conversations with people on the other side, so I know it pretty well. Common Core is a set of standards and assessments from kindergarten through 12th grade for math and English, and they specify what children should know and be able to do. Now, on the surface, that sounds pretty normal, pretty average. The thing is, Michigan already has very good standards and a very good assessment. And this new idea was developed by the National Governors Association, which is a private association of governors. Not all of them belong, but a lot of them do. And the idea was to come together and to and capitalize on the best standards. Unfortunately, the bureaucrats and college educators that they put in charge of it didn't actually do that. They actually developed new standards that have not been put in practice anywhere, and so there's no evidence that they would actually be more effective in helping students learn math and English language arts.
Tell me I've got a little bit of, I guess, some questions. So is this a federal program or is it a state program, Melanie?
Well, technically it is neither. It is, as I said, a private association, the National Governors Association, and then there's another association, the chiefs. Those are the state superintendents can belong. And they appointed a bureaucracy of people who are the core people who are developing standards and assessments. Now, on that team, Michigan has one or two people out of our Department of Education. Other states have people on there too, and the funding comes from primarily the federal government. Now, if they run out of money, then the states will have to throw money in. But right now, all the funding is coming from the federal government. So you see, it's actually, I would call it a national association that's directing it, And here's the thing, the standards are copyrighted, the standards and the assessment are copyrighted. So the state's choice is to either buy all in or not at all. And so you see, it limits the flexibility within a state if there are parts of the standards that you don't like when we actually put them into practice. So you wouldn't call it federal. They like to call it state-led, and are state people included? Yes, but not a single elected official is involved in the actual design and construction. And if we don't like something, there is no one in the state of Michigan that we could actually go to appeal for a modification.
You know, it's fascinating. It seems to me that whenever we're trying to define what's state and federal, if we just follow the funding, we'll figure out who's really behind it. When I look at it, understand that my own personal ideology would have been to get rid of the U.S. Department of Education and to try to reduce control of curriculum decisions back down to the school board level. Rather than having school boards decide where they should be investing their cafeteria money, I'd rather see them decide things like what their immediate school district and their children that they're charged with education of need. You know, I listened to a person here the other day in preparation for this show, and she was, first off, she was very progressive, and of course she was extremely ecstatic about this program. And the more she talked, the more she'd convinced me that this is both the last thing that we need. I understand, though, that there are 48 states that have signed on. Is that true?
It's 46, but there are 13 that have active legislation and 2 or 3 more that are looking at getting out of Common Core. As a matter of fact, Indiana, just last week, Governor Pence signed their bill to put Common Core on hold, and they're going to spend a year doing community conversations so that they get feedback from the public, and also doing a cost analysis, because one of the pieces that has been missing is what this will cost, and we haven't been able to get the Michigan Department of Ed to give us a number, and their argument is that the primary cost will be borne by the school districts, and they're not responsible for that.
You know, tell me your thoughts when I guess throw this out as just for the sake of dialogue. When I look at education, one of the greatest concerns I had, frankly, with No Child Left Behind, and probably more so with this Common Core program than any other program, is that it seems that the premise is that every school district is the same. So they launch cookie-cutter programs. But frankly, when I look at cities like inner-city Detroit, who the results of their education is literally on par with Cambodia and Haiti, I can't think in my mind that a curriculum for dealing with that problem is the same curriculum, say, would be necessary in North Muskegon. I can't make my mind put that together.
You make a very good point here. And the problem is, the truth of the matter is, standards do not educate children. Teachers do. And so it is a partnership between teachers and parents that ends up in getting children who are actually learning what they need to learn. And I fault the local control system, because what we had created was a compulsory monopoly. That is, that you have to go to school, and you have to go to your neighborhood school. And when you had a total compulsory monopoly, and in many parts of our state we still do, you can't fix that. You can't fix it through regulation. You can't fix it through encouragement and enticement. The system just won't correct itself. So the movement that our legislature made toward choice, which empowers parents, is very, very good. But the problem is when you, as you said, institute standards and assessments and resulting curriculum in a cookie-cutter approach, you actually undermine the concept of choice. I use an example. I said if you had 10 auto dealers in your community, that's choice, but if they all sell black Fords, that's not really choice. And so that's what we're ending up doing, and you're absolutely right. We have to create a system where their parents have alternatives. If their school district is not teaching their child, they have to have real alternatives, and we have to prepare our teachers better for doing a good job in school. I don't criticize teachers so much because I think our schools of education have really let them down. For example, most elementary educators are well-versed in teaching reading, and our results in reading across the state are much better. We do have 40% of our kids who can't read at grade level. but they do not prepare teachers for teaching math. And we have 70% of our kids statewide from 3rd grade through 11th grade who cannot perform math at grade level. And then we instituted these standards that say they all have to learn through Algebra 2 before they graduate. And we create an impossible scenario for children and a very difficult scenario for teachers.
I think that's true. I think that there are a handful of problems as it pertains to where to place blame, if you will. And that's even stepped away from the curriculum aspect of it. My opinion would be that once upon a time, teachers approach that as more of a missionary, like a calling, whereas now it's a pretty well paid function that you don't have to work real hard at. And I know I'll get slayed for that, but that's the appearance it is from the outside looking in. But,
well, that we have undermined the professionalism of teachers. When I ran for state board last year, I went to the MEA. Of course, I didn't expect their endorsement since I am a conservative myself, but what I criticized them is, I said, you represent teachers as if they're hourly workers. You negotiate the hours they work, the pay, the step increases, but you don't protect the rights of teachers to decide things in the classroom the way a professional should be allowed to do. So ask a teacher today. You can't decide how many kids you have. You can't decide what books you use. You can't decide how much time you have. And when you look at the instructional supports that go with Common Core, they actually tell teachers, spend 12 minutes on this and 23 minutes on that. And what we're doing is creating a system that undermines the professionalism of teaching, and therefore the teachers respond by not being professional. So it's chicken and egg, but we've got to fix it and reinstate the concept of professionalism for teachers.
No question about it, but I would submit to you this, Melanie. You used auto dealerships as an example a bit ago, and I'll use cars also. If there was a period of time in domestic auto manufacturing where unions were really designing the cars, and we got some really, really crummy cars out of it. And when there was an economic pushback and we were losing to the world's automakers, slowly engineers and people that are educated to design cars, they took the designing back, and now we've got a pretty good product again here domestically. And I say that because the MEA has no business being engaged in curriculum management, in my view. And what we've gotten as a reward for allowing that to be is we've gotten a curriculum, especially in junior high and high school, that aims towards college preparatory courses, even though about 25% of the public will actually graduate from college. And so that leaves 75% of them with frankly no marketable skills whatsoever when they get out of high school after what amounts to 13 years of formal education. I find that alarming. But I directly blame it on MEA and parents. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but I've got to dovetail the other half of this equation in. When you look at the single parent rates in the United States right now, that I can't imagine, and this is where I give kudos to teachers. When I look at the percentages of violence and suicide and this whole big list of just carnage that takes place that are primarily driven by single-parent children, it's alarming. So I think that teachers have their hands full trying to manage classes with all of the psychology we've got swirling around nowadays.
Well, I would separate the issue of unions and teachers. That, especially now that we have right to work, and if you start to really reinstitute the concept of professionalism, teachers themselves really are the right people because they're in the classroom with kids, and they can understand and work with how to teach kids to read and do math. So I separate those issues, and I think as we move away from the power of the union in education in Michigan, that'll be the beginning of reinstituting the professionalism. But you're right about parents in that parents need to be responsible for their children. But I come back, this also the system has damaged, because back not that long ago when my kids were in school, Parents could have influence over what teacher a student had. We could talk to teachers about what books they were reading. Nowadays, if a parent goes into school and says, my child isn't working well with this teacher, can I have a new teacher? They say, no, that's not you're not allowed. You can't have comments about the books. They send home math homework that parents don't even recognize because they're using all these new approaches. And then they tell the parents, don't teach your child how to multiply the way you learn how to multiply because we don't do it that way anymore. And so they've created a scenario where the parents who want to be engaged find it difficult. And then you've got another class of parents who themselves became parents before they could read or do math. And so they are ill-equipped to not only coach their own child, but to be able to go to school and talk to a highly educated teacher or principal on equal terms. If you watched the Juan Williams special on education in Detroit, or if you're aware that Dearborn Heights parents are suing their school board because their kids graduated, got a diploma, but they can't read at the 8th grade level. These parents really care. They're really engaged. Some say they should have noticed that the kids weren't learning to read sooner. And a lot of times I'll tell you they did, but the school was non-responsive to their needs. So you're right. There are parents who have given the responsibility of raising their kids to the schools and the teachers, but we've pushed them that way in addition. So we have to fix both of those things.
I'll tell you that I remember one of my last conversations with one of the principals where my daughters graduated from high school. And when I got to the 4th daughter, I was a pretty engaged parent, and the assistant principal said, Mike, do you have any more daughters? Because he was tired of seeing me. But they can't have it both ways. They can't say it's not our fault because parents aren't doing their job and then push parents away when they want to get engaged.
Exactly.
So that's a real problem. But let me ask you this. When I look at when I try to step back away from whatever the current political drama is in education, because it seems we change the language every year, but it's still the same. But when I step back and look, I saw a SAT test scores analysis, and it addressed people that were born in 1952 all the way through people that were born in 1992. So it was a 40-year span of year after year of SAT test scores. And each year, Melanie, the graph went down. It never went up. It never went level. Each year, without fail, for 40 years, SAT scores went down. And that's a national measure. And when I look at that, I'm not a conspiratorialist, but it causes me to pause and say, if all these people are really as learned as you just kind of said, how can they not see that 40-year decline is going to have a significant impact on our society? And to your point earlier, a parent that wasn't educated cannot be a partner in education. But 40-year decline and all these educated folks don't say, stop, we need a massive change?
Well, it depends on who you're talking about. I contend that the university professors have done more harm to K-12 education in the United States than just about anybody else, them and the textbook companies. Do you remember when we used to use phonics to teach children how to read?
I hooked on phonics.
Right, and so what happened was they invented, these university professors, this thing called whole language, a new way to teach reading. And the fact of the matter is, it didn't work. But they invented it, they advertised it, they got book publishers to tell people about it, and then school districts instituted it in the classroom and reprimanded teachers who continued to use the old-fashioned phonics.
No.
And so when they finally discovered that this whole language didn't, in fact, teach kids to read, teachers started sneaking the phonics back in, and now teachers are allowed to use that. And then we've done the same thing with math, that they're shifting from, they said, oh, well, you don't want to kill and drill and make kids memorize their multiplication facts because they could use a calculator. But in fact, having fluent manipulation of multiplication and addition is critical to long-term success in higher level math.
No question. So, Melanie, I've got to hold you off for just a moment. I've got to go to a break. Hold that thought, folks, and we'll be right back.
Renegade River in Spring Lake wants to buy your used handguns and hunting guns. Renegade River, your hunting, camping, and survival store. Stop in and check out their new and used firearms, sporting goods, Army and Navy supplies, and survival gear. Downtown Spring Lake, next to the police station.
Hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, fires, floods. Mother Nature has lots of disasters up her sleeve. That's why I use Carbonite to protect my computer files. Carbonite backs up your files for you automatically, and Carbonite keeps them in the cloud away from danger. Unlimited backup space for your PC or Mac is just $59 a year. Start your free trial today at Carbonite.com. No credit card required. Be sure to use offer code KIM and get 2 free months with purchase. That's Carbonite.com, offer code KIM.
Hi everyone, Jay Farner here with Quicken Loans. Today's mortgage rates are just about the lowest that we've ever experienced. But because these super low rates fluctuate, Quicken Loans has a great new way for you to find out what the current mortgage rate is for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage right this instant. Just pick up your mobile phone and text the word RATES to AMAZE. Text RATES to 26293 to see the latest mortgage rate on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Again, simply text RATES to AMAZE. That's RATES to 26293. At Quicken Loans, we always provide you with the latest technology designed to give you an amazing mortgage experience. Maybe that's why for 3 years in a row now, J.D. Power & Associates has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, text RATES to AMAZE 26293 and discover for yourself why Quicken Loans is engineered to amaze.
Standard text messaging rates apply. For J.D. Power & Associates award information, visit jdpower.com. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
The Sage Salute to your business. Here's to being the innovator-in-chief, to crazy ideas that still make dollars and cents, to mobile payments that never take the long way into your accounting system. Here's to controlling your operating costs so that you can achieve your business goals. Sage. Believe in your numbers. Visit sagetoday.com. That's sagetoday.com.
Save big on everything for your household needs now during Menards' 11% sale. Receive an 11% rebate on all your purchases now through Sunday, June 2nd. Make cleaning jobs a breeze with Lippmann products. Save big on a great selection of mops, brooms, scrub brushes, and more. 18-inch push brooms by Lippmann are now just $7 each after 11% rebate. Save big at Menards with an 11% rebate on everything in the store.
Save big money at Menards.
Be a survivor, not a statistic. Renegade River in Spring Lake has new and used handguns, hunting guns, sporting goods, and survival gear. Protect your rights and your freedom. Ask about their CPL classes. Renegade River, next to the police station at downtown Spring Lake.
The Talk of Muskegon. News Talk 1090, WKBZ.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Renegade River Show, and my name is Mike Hewitt, and today we're on with Melanie Curtis. Melanie, welcome back.
Thank you, Mike.
Hey, I didn't mean to cut you off when we went to break, but I want to kind of segue a little bit, Melanie, in our little bit of time we've got left. Book sales, to me, one of the problems when I have one of those philosophies that when you can't figure something out, follow the money. And so when I look at education, of course, I look immediately to the federal money supply coming in. But then secondarily, I look at book sales in terms of the monies, and it's in the billions of dollars annually. And my feeling is that as we keep transitioning our education from one thing to another, it looks like we continue to try to experiment without ever actually looking back at what used to work. But to me, it's driven by book sales. What say you?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I don't think most people know because it's difficult to put the numbers together. But I found a website that put together federal, state, and local spending. And do you know in the United States we have spent more on K-12 education since 1991 than we have on national defense? Most people are surprised by that. But when you look at it that way, you know how people work hard to get a national defense contract. Well, the same thing is with books. My daughter and I were comparing. She took a statistics class that I had taken. This is at the university level, but she had to buy a book. So I happened to have kept mine. So we sat down and laid them out side by side. And the only thing that was different were the homework assignments at the end of the chapter. But she had to buy a brand new book. And so the book sales through K-12 and universities are driven by professors who want to have more ideas, new ideas published and get credit for them, and the book companies that obviously don't make money if you don't buy new books.
No question about it. Years ago, Melanie, I'd bought a house in a little town back in fact, it was in 1996. And in that, it was on a Christmas. I'll tell you a short story, but I was up in the attic, and the person that had owned the house before us had left a bunch of stuff in the attic, and most of it was just antiques. What my dad would have called it, bric-a-brac, and that kind of thing. But in all of the stuff that the lady had left in the attic were 3 books. There was a reader, a writer, and an arithmetic book. And when you opened the page, in fact, at the time it gave me a little bit of a chill up my spine. It may still, that when I opened the book, it was a Christmas gift in 1896 to a lady that was becoming a teacher. And I have to tell you, I'm not a math wizard, but my linguistic skills are fairly good. Having said that, these were 8th grade reader, writer, and arithmetic books, and I don't think there's a test in any of the 3 of them that I could have passed. The math was extremely difficult. The language was vastly beyond anything that's being taught in public education today. And I think to myself, I remember, I'm 52, so I remember the older generation talking about grandfather somebody or somebody's great uncle that never graduated didn't make it to the 8th grade. And I thought, well, geez, he's got probably a better education than most of the people we know then.
Yeah, that's true. Through the 60s and the 70s, education went through this phase where we were more concerned about maintaining a child's self-esteem, and they didn't want to grade them wrong. They banned the red pens by the teachers. They stopped holding kids back that didn't learn and keep up. And so, we've made it very difficult for holding children accountable to learn, and they are part of the equation, too. If we don't hold children accountable to learn and try, then we've got a system that's not going to succeed.
Absolutely. So tell me this, what is the cure in your view, Melanie? What should we be doing?
Well, I definitely think Michigan should not commit to this national structure of Common Core standards and assessments. Now, in Michigan, we've started using some of the Common Core standards in the schools. We can incorporate the good ideas that we like from them into our standards. We should also look very closely at Massachusetts because they have the highest student achievement in the country. They actually compete as if they were a country on international exams, and their kids do outstandingly well. And Sandra Stotsky, she was one of the experts that was called in to validate Common Core, and she refused to sign off because she said the standards are not good. But she was a chief architect of the structure of Massachusetts education. So it includes standards and assessments, but more importantly, it includes good teacher professional development, teacher preparation, and very robust choice, so that you would make sure throughout your state, in all key geographies, parents have alternatives. I mean, like in Detroit, where we recently took over those schools and made them the EAA schools under the governor's plan. And the argument was, well, those schools, not a single child is working at grade level in those schools. We have to do something. Well, okay, you can buy that, but really, those parents need alternatives as well, because we don't know if the EAA model is going to be successful, and it might be successful for some kids and not for others. So Michigan should retain its authority, its right to educate. We should go back to the Michigan constitutional requirement that parents are the primary directors of their students' education, and return the power back to parents through robust choice.
Where is Governor Snyder on this topic?
Well, very disappointingly, when we had tried to get audience with the governor, I had met with Lieutenant Governor Calley. I had met with one of the governor's key advisors, and when our experts came in from out of state, they met with them as well, and we were assured that we would have audience with the governor before he made up his mind. And then, lo and behold, Arnie Duncan shows up, and the governor does a press conference with him and announces that he's in support of Common Core. And it's very, very disappointing to me. I'm hopeful that he doesn't really understand that he's giving away the sovereign right of Michigan leaders to direct education to a unelected, unaccountable bureaucracy. Unfortunately, the governor tends to buy into federal programs that include money. What was confusing to me is this one doesn't include money for us, at least not right now. So he didn't have to jump on that bandwagon. So we're looking right now. We have an amendment on the current budget to stop funding Common Core in Michigan. And if that amendment sticks through the actual budget approval process, we will have the attention of the Department of Education and the governor and all the legislators, and we'll make the case that they should not implement Common Core in Michigan.
Do we have any legislators either in the Senate or in the House here in Michigan that are with you on this?
Oh, yes. We have a very strong contingent of legislators. Tom McMillan, Representative Tom McMillan is leading the charge for us, but there are quite a number that have learned and they have made up their mind and they do not support Common Core. There are others who are confused because they listen to us and they understand, and then the governor comes along and John Engler wrote a letter suggesting that the Republican National Committee was incorrect by saying that Common Core wasn't good for Michigan or the country, and so you have Jeb Bush is another one, who are known Republican leaders who are on the bandwagon for Common Core. So some of our Republican leaders are confused. I have a number of Democrat legislators who are also on an agreement, and a lot of their problem is that we're going to start holding teachers accountable using this assessment that has never been used anywhere, so you have no credibility about whether or not it's actually a valid tool to measure teachers' ability to get kids to learn.
Well, tell me this, Melanie. Does Governor Snyder, and it's kind of a fascinating, I'll add a slight caveat. I find that I'm rarely in agreement with Governor Snyder, although in the end he seems to do the right thing because our state legislature causes him to do the right thing. So, I mean, it's one of those things where he keeps doing something I agree with, but it's like someone's twisted his arm, and it's obviously against everything that he'd offered in spin previous to that. But do they identify a reason that they believe it makes sense, or is it just because it defaults education and kicks the football into somebody else's court, which is my interpretation of their thinking?
They've bought into the idea that these are good standards and that it makes sense that all kids should be learning the same thing across the country, and that we can save money if we all work together. And they haven't really given a good critical eye to any of those assertions as being truthful or valid, or and I worry that they're making this decision on these superficial assertions, as I say, that are unproven, and that will just be 5-10 years down the road we'll be disappointed, but then how will we hold them accountable? They'll be gone from office anyway.
Yeah, they'll be done for office. They'll be done for office, Melanie, but the problem with it is that they're 5 or 10 years later when we look at and say what a disappointing experiment that was. Think of the millions of kids that will come in contact with a failed experiment. But, when I look at a classroom, I know that, and I'm not educated. I don't want to misrepresent myself, but some of these things are common sense. I know that, for instance, I'm a mechanical learner. I have to see and associate, and I've seen other people that can listen to someone lecture for 10 minutes and they just get it. So, I mean, it's kind of a toughie. Melanie, I've got to cut you off and take you to a break. But listen, I want to have you back on because there's a lot more we can talk about. And today, thank you very much for taking some holiday weekend with us.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Be a survivor, not a statistic. Renegade River in Spring Lake has new and used handguns, hunting guns, sporting goods, and survival gear. Protect your rights and your freedom. Ask about their CPL classes. Renegade River, next to the police station in downtown Spring Lake.
There's a Nobel Prize for Peace and, stuff like that. But they ought to have a Nobel Prize for Awesomeness, and the winner would be iHeartRadio. iHeartRadio lets you listen to 1,500 live radio stations, and it lets you create custom stations right on your smartphone or tablet. Download it for free at iHeartRadio.com. The Nobel Prize for Awesomeness goes to iHeartRadio. That's right. You better recognize.
Here at the Kim Commando Show, no one knows the business of my business more than me. I believe that successful teamwork is the foundation of any successful business. When we work face-to-face, we work effectively. And when you have coworkers and clients spread around the world, coming together gets difficult. And that's why I use and recommend GoToMeeting with HD Faces. It's the powerful and simple way to meet online from wherever you are, whenever you need to connect. We all share the same screen. We're all on the same page. We work with documents in real time. With your computer's camera, GoToMeeting's HD video conferencing is like meeting in person. We all see each other face to face. Have your meeting anywhere on your Mac, PC, smartphone, or your iPad. Try GoToMeeting free for 30 days. Don't wait. For this special offer, visit GoToMeeting.com. Click on the Try It Free button and use promo code KIM. Be sure to use the promo code KIM. That's GoToMeeting.com. Meeting is believing.
Whoever came up with the saying, put your money where your mouth is, must have had some dental work done. Just a filling can cost over $100. And other procedures like crowns and root canals can cost you hundreds more. Without dental insurance, you could be putting a lot of money where your mouth is. Fortunately, you can get dental insurance for less than $1 a day. This isn't a discount plan. This is real dental insurance that can cover over 300 procedures. Everything from cleanings and fillings to crowns and dentures. To have a free information kit mailed directly to you, call Physicians Mutual Insurance Company, 1-800-719-5536. Your acceptance is guaranteed for one of these insurance policies, even if you're retired or on Medicare. You can see any dentist you choose and never pay a deductible. Get coverage for less than $1 a day and put less money where your mouth is. For your free information kit with all the details, call 1-800-719-5536. 1-800-719-5536.
Fox News Radio, I'm Karen McHugh. President Obama gets a first-hand look at tornado damage done to Moore, Oklahoma today.
24 people were killed, including 10 children, when that powerful EF5 twister came through, damaging or destroying up to 13,000 homes. Tonight, a memorial service is planned at the First Baptist Church of Moore, where people will come to pay tribute and remember the fallen.
Fox's Casey Stiegel. Rockets fired on targets in Beirut from Syria today threatened to drag Lebanon into the Syrian civil war.
Today's attack came after the leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, said his group would help propel Syrian President Bashar al-Assad to victory. No one has claimed responsibility for today's attack, but one Syrian rebel commander has threatened he would retaliate against Hezbollah for their involvement in the conflict.
Fox Radio's Kimberly Adams in Cairo. Fox News. We report. You decide.
Here's the official News Talk 1090 WKBZ forecast for today. Lots of sunshine with a high of 65. Southwest winds 5 to 10. Tonight, partly cloudy, a low of 46. Northeast winds 5 to 10. It'll be overcast tomorrow with showers at times at a high of 68. Southeast winds 10 to 20. And showers are possible as well on Tuesday. Maybe a rumble of thunder with a high of 73. For Wednesday, isolated thunderstorms at a high around 75. Keeping you informed, News Talk 1090 WKBZ, the talk of Muskegon.
Renegade River in Spring Lake wants to buy your used handguns and hunting guns. Renegade River, your hunting, camping, and survival store. Stop in and check out their new and used firearms, sporting goods, Army and Navy supplies, and survival gear. Downtown Spring Lake, next to the police station.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Renegade River Show, and my name is Mike Hewitt. And we've got Mark Petzold of the River City Patriots on the line with us. Mark, welcome back to the Renegade River Show.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Hey, it's good to have you back on, but I have to tell everybody, I recently saw on a page, the internet page that's set up for the River City Patriots, I saw a Department of Homeland Security police car. And I found that to be, I'm not a conspiracy kind of guy, but frankly, I found that a little bit concerning. And so, Mark, I think you were the fella that took the picture. What am I looking at when I see that car?
Well, it's like an SUV. It really didn't seem too odd at first, but I had actually had my back to the road where a protest was, and it looked like a police car had pulled up behind us, and it was just sort of odd because it was just sitting there, and I'm just joking around with the people, telling them not to make eye contact, just kind of making light of it. And then I took a double take, and then I saw Department of Homeland Security, and they looked like they were taking pictures of us or something. A little hard to tell because they had tinted windows, but I'm just kind of like, oh, hell no. So I took my camera out and started taking pictures of them, taking pictures of us.
Yeah, it's when I looked at the car, but when I looked at the picture, I see Department of Homeland Security, and then I see the big gigantic words police. I got to tell you, it reminded me a little bit of Mexico and some other third world banana republics where you have a federal police. And I thought, does the United States really need a federal police? Is that really what we've come to, and is that really what the Department of Homeland Security was meant to be? And then I start flashing through my mind the billions, not the 1.6 rounds that the media talked about for a nanosecond, but the billions of rounds of ammunition. And the question here a few months ago about how many tanks did they actually buy or re-outfit from the Iraqi war. And then I'm seeing police cars. And what city was that taken in?
It was Grand Rapids. We were at the IRS building on the East Beltline, which is a fairly big thoroughfare. And he was on the street that leads up to the IRS building, which was not actually in sight of where we were protesting. There's about 2/3 of us are down by the road, and about a third of us were up at the building kind of mistakenly. And so he was just, the street that he was on wasn't like extremely busy. It was more the entrance to the office complex. And so I was on the outskirts of Grand Rapids.
Yeah, Grand Rapids, wild and crazy town, definitely needs federal police to monitor it. Hey, tell me this: did you have any direct contact with the officer?
No. What happened is I took that picture, and then some of my group that was up there by the building, I didn't know that they were actually up there, and one of my members came down, and he was like, "You won't believe it." I said, "What?" He said they didn't come out just, inquiring what's going on. They actually literally came out asking for the River City Patriots Tea Party. So that kind of got my interest piqued a bit. And so I personally did not have contact with them, but the same member also had contact with them later, and I did get verification from multiple people that that's what they actually did. But
it seems kind of eyebrow raising that he came looking specifically to find out about the River City Patriots. I got to tell you, Mark, I think that's a compliment to your effort.
I appreciate it, and I will take that effort. It's a pleasure to pick at that scab. It bothers me. We have sheriff department. We have people accountable to the fellow citizens. I'm not sure who I talked to in regards to any conduct that could have been happening. I would have to say if they were worried about the safety of the IRS building, and they could have waited around the corner just fine, and they didn't have to be right there. To me, it was an intimidation factor, and it wasn't just it was other Tea Parties as well had that happen. I think in L.A. area they had a helicopter, a DHS helicopter over their event. So,
wow. Was there? You guys were there to pick at the IRS, and so I'm asking, describe that event, because some of the listeners may think, well, maybe you guys were doing something that caused them to want to focus on you a little bit.
Well, I think if you were to look at it from the concept of kind of what they deserve, maybe they should be worried. But the Tea Party in general, I mean, not in general, it has always been peaceful, and this was a peaceful protest as well. And the The main goal of the event was to awaken my fellow citizens. I really don't care about the people in the building. Trying to get attention, break some smelling salts up and open, and the people driving by and say, "Wake up, people! We're in a world of hurt," and that's the intent of it. And so, I don't think I really called for it to be peaceful per se. I think it's kind of implied, but I certainly, always don't advocate for violence. That'd be foolish at this point, and
you guys were just carrying signs that day. That's what I understand?
Yeah. There was a lot of flags. My favorite thing is our 6-foot by 10-foot Gadsden flag. I don't think that they can miss. Right. But there was a lot of there's a lot of things like signs saying like audit the IRS and
sure.
Things along those lines. Certainly nothing, nothing beyond the realm of just normal free speech and civil protest. Nothing threatening.
Right. How many people were there? Did you guys have in your group?
There's approximately 100.
Okay, so it's a fair number. You had a pretty good showing then.
Yeah. It was pretty good. We had several news media out. I actually, one of the things that when I was down by the road, I asked one of the TV stations in Grand Rapids if they wanted to follow me up. This is after I'd heard about that they were asking for, so I was going to go up there and knock on the window of the car and ask if they needed help finding the River City Patriots. But the TV station didn't want to go up there with me.
Well, was the TV station afraid of them or what?
Well, I think, you know what? Yeah, I think so to a certain point. I have to admit, if I was doing it, if I would have done it, my adrenaline's been pumping big time, Just, it's just one of those things, and I think it's kind of the importance of what's going on so much as an actual threat. It's the fact that we realize. I mean, let's face it. If I would have had an interview with a police officer and asked them, so why are you asking for River City Patriots? And it's just started to inquire along those lines. That could have been actually a pretty key video that might have been used pretty handily, maybe even across the nation. Who knows?
Yeah, it would have, but you're reminding me of that old quote: "When government fears the people, there is liberty, and when people fear the government, there is tyranny." Think about this: the idea that forget the Tea Party for just a second. The idea that the news guy was afraid to go over there and talk to the Department of Homeland Security, federal police. I find that a telling tale about where we're at in this nation.
It is, and yeah, that saying has gone through my mind so much especially in the last couple of weeks, and I do believe that the citizens, there's a certain amount of helplessness that people feel out there. I suspect that truthfully, we should be in D.C. Not Occupy Wall Street, but I mean, we should be there, making some sort of a statement. And I think people are either a combination of afraid or feel like it won't make any difference. Those kinds of things. But you think about it in times of like Sam Adams. I've been saying lately, what would Sam Adams do? How would he respond to that? Let's see, stamp tax, tea tax. How did that end up?
Yep.
We're talking straight up tyranny, intimidate. They wouldn't stand for any of this kind of crap going on.
No, that's and we know there's no question what Patrick Henry would have done. It's just a fascinating circumstance. You probably know Tea Party groups that were audited or were having their 501(c)(3)s and 4s delayed.
Yes.
Yeah, and I it's a fascinating thing because a lot of folks, when they hear these kind of stories, I think about it being in France or England or some far-flung place, sometimes even California, like some other country. I joke a little bit, but not much. And in truth of it is touching people right here. And it's a problem that is kind of, we're held in check is where I'm going with this. There's that term that says we toil for taxes nowadays. And so a lot of the folks that would love to agree with you and say, let's go to Washington, it isn't a question of will it do any good. It's a question of how can they possibly do it because they're working full time to pay for their federal tax.
Well, and here's another thing that I've been weighing on me this last week is our founders sacrificed their lives, their liberty, and their sacred honor when they signed the Declaration of Independence. And I have to admit, when I was out, we posted this event and whatnot, and there was like myself and our vice president RSVP'd to go. That's it. And there weren't very many people saying they were going to go on Facebook or anything else. I thought I might be standing out in the corner looking like an idiot, but if that's what it turns out to be, that's what it turns out to be. Because I do know the demographic. Most people are afraid of the IRS, and they don't want to pick a fight with them. That they have a hard time winning or having any kind of recourse. And the power to tax has dominated our society. Even when we first started the Tea Party here in West Michigan, we spent hours and hours and hours haggling about what to do, how we deal with the IRS, blah, blah, blah. And they hadn't even started to oppress us yet.
Right.
And it's just...
Mark, let me cut you off. Did I just understand what you were saying to mean that a lot of your membership were afraid to acknowledge the IRS picketing on the internet for fear of repercussions?
Yeah, it was below... for the size, usually RSVP is a tough indicator of the size of the crowd anyways.
Sure.
But it was, there was just crickets chirping online. I mean, there wasn't any, I really did not know what to expect. I was very heartened by the 100 people that showed up. Actually, I mean, it brings goosebumps to me, actually. A lot of people say, it was only 100. I'm thinking, it was 100? You know?
Yep.
Because you're going to go right in front of the hornet's nest and give it a whack. And, and they were out there monitoring us, and people have this belief, first of all, that they can stay below the radar. And then a lot of people want to stay below the radar. And I don't know. It's amazing, the Tea Party demographic, really. A lot of people are people that have served in the military and been offered everything up before, and here they are again, willing to go into harm's way in a different sort of way. And I don't know. It's just, I'm proud to be part of the movement and stand shoulder to shoulder with a lot of the people in the movement.
I think the media had the what do they call it? Low information public.
Low information voters.
Yeah, I think that the media had a lot of folks pretty much feeling that the Tea Party had disappeared, gone away. Yeah. And of course, that's not the case. We had Jim Chiodo on last week, and he talked about his organization down in Hudsonville, where they're still having 80 or so people every meeting show up and be involved, and those are the same numbers that were there at the peak of the Tea Party. So I say that tongue in cheek because the peak of the Tea Party is still here, and I'm not convinced that it's done growing yet.
Oh no, it's continues to. It's morphed ever from day one. It's changed in different looks and so on. I definitely often use the phrase the protest moved inside, and I'll be honest with you, Mike. A lot of it is more political than I'd like it to be. But if you were to ask our GOP state chair, Showstack, whether the Tea Party's are around or not, I think he has a pair of dirty underwear from the February convention that says the Tea Party's still around. We almost took them out. I mean that by the vote sense, not the Target, Palin, freaky sense.
Yeah, no question about it. I think you're right though. But the Tea Party, as it's went through as it's matured, has become more of an educational tool. Get the information to the electorate. So another was not such a political crusade as it was back in the first time. I remember standing out on the steps in Grand Haven, and I think I talked there for about 10 seconds, but there was a lot of people there on the very first day of what became the Tea Party. And there's a lot more members now. The difference is that they're a little bit more mature, and they're starting to understand how to move the legislation, how to cause impact in the political climate. And of course, the progressive extreme left, they hate that.
Oh, most definitely. And if I could change anything myself is if I'd like to throttle back how much we do with politics and continue to mobilize and educate the public. The politics, as people become engaged, that kind of happens on its own, because when people know what's happened and why it happened, you can't get them to stop.
No question about it.
And I would love to. During this time period, we're doing different things. Like we show Frack Nation. Don't tell the IRS. I'm kidding. We still have politicians come out and give a legislative update, hold their feet to the fire here and there, and that kind of thing. But no, there's no doubt about it. There's no substitute for an informed electorate. There just isn't. And the more of that we can focus on, the more the politics will take care of itself.
An informed and virtuous electorate. Mark, thank you very much for coming back on the Renegade River Show. That's it for us today. Happy Memorial Day, and thank you to those who've served.